Welcome to Spotlight. I'm your host, Amitha. We are in the midst of a global crisis like never before seen in recent history, the COVID-19 pandemic. Lives lost, suffering in both physical and mental dimensions, loss of personal freedom, economies on the brink, and much more. In these uncertain times, we turn to our health and government officials to guide us better so that we can cope better. We may have to accept a new norm once this crisis passes. Today, our guest will shed some light on the measures taken by the Government of Ontario to ease the burden of this crisis. Let us welcome to our show the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation, and Trade of Ontario, Honourable MPP Victor Fedeli. Welcome to our show, sir.
Good morning, Amitha. Nice to see you today.
Well, we are in the midst of such a crisis. Just enlighten our viewers as to what your role is currently in this emergency state.
Well, I think, first of all, I think Premier Ford has done a remarkable job leading our province. From our perspective, we put everything sort of in three buckets, if you will. The first, absolutely every cabinet minister, every member of provincial parliament, every member of our staff, their first priority is for the safety and well-being of all of the citizens of Ontario. And that's really the first area. The second would be for families and businesses surviving today, this week, next month. And so you've seen the various things that we put together. $200 a check for every person under the age of 12. If you're a low-income senior, your gains, your guaranteed annual income check is automatically doubled. If you're a student, your student loan payments are suspended and interest is suspended. If you're a business, all of the payments, employee health tax, WSIB, all of those payments to the government are suspended. That's about $6 billion, by the way, in deferrals, and helps your cash flow as a business. At home, the provincial share of your property tax has been suspended. So we're doing all of these economic measures to help these families and businesses get through these days and weeks. And then the final step that my ministry is looking at is where are we going in the future? How are we going to continue with economic development, job creation, and trade?
Amazing. It's quite commendable how the government has come together because we have not seen this in recent history. And so it's all new to all of us. So it's great to see. And that's why the public can be at ease when the government is doing so much. Now, if I can focus on the working individuals and the businesses, can you be more specific as to the exact measures that are already in place for those who have been really affected by this emergency shutdown?
Well, you've got both the province and the federal government working hand in hand. And again, to your point earlier, there's no politics here. That's just absolutely suspended, and we're working hand in hand. And I meet with my federal counterparts electronically, and we discuss what do families and what do businesses need and who's going to provide what. So there are no gaps, but there's no overlaps either. So we're seeing the federal government come through with the 75% of the emergency wage subsidy, and they've got the CERB program that people are familiar with that makes a payment. So that is the federal response. And the provincial response has been the things that I mentioned, for students, for families, for young children, and for businesses. Those are the specifics that I had mentioned earlier that we've put out there on the table.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We are shedding some light on the measures taken by the government through the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation, and Trade of Ontario, the Honourable MPP Victor Fedeli. And now we have something else that is also in terms of helping everybody during this crisis is the Ontario Together web portal. Can you tell us more?
Yes, thank you, Amitha. This is a very exciting opportunity. Premier Ford very early on recognized that we just do not make the personal protective equipment that we're going to need in Ontario. And we're reliant on people overseas. And this just was not going to work out. And so we call out on a website, Ontario Together, and asked for ideas and asked for a specific, can you make this, this, and this? And we had 17,000 responses from individuals and businesses who are able to make personal protective equipment. 17,000 responses. 3,700 businesses have now offered to retool or buy new equipment to make personal protective equipment. And it's just, I'll give you some examples in a moment. It's just so exciting to me.
Well, I must say, Minister, I'm proud to be Canadian. It's just commendable now that the public is also coming together. So tell us what is the selection criteria actually for these organizations who are offering to help?
It's really fascinating. We're seeing the true spirit of Ontario come through. Somebody had seen me on one of the broadcasts talking about Ford and Honda, who are large automakers who are making several 100,000 face masks. At the time, actually, they were planning to be making several 100,000 face masks per week. And I got a call from a German immigrant, been here 12 years. I had met him one time when I was mayor of my hometown. And he said, you know, Vic, I saw you talk about that. I have a laser cutter. My 3 young daughters and I sit at the dining room table, and we're making 100 face shields right now. And he said, you know, us little guys will keep doing this until the big guys are ready to deliver. And I thought, wow, he really captured the spirit of Ontario. Sent me a photo of he and his 3 daughters sitting at their table making these face shields. So everybody can get involved, of course. But one of the first calls that I made was to Canada Goose. You know, they make those beautiful coats. We talked to them about their sewers and what they could be doing, and now they are making 700,000 gowns, surgical gowns. And so we're seeing these companies get involved. A lot of the auto parts makers are jumping in and getting involved. Magna just donated 500,000 of the N95 face masks, respirator masks.
Wow.
It is just so overwhelming, the spirit of Ontario that we're seeing.
That is great, Minister. Now, how are the people in need or the organizations in need getting this, or how can they get hold of this?
Well, the system is pretty structured. The hospitals have a direct pipeline to Ontario Health and all of the teams that are in place. So I look almost every day at the lists of what we're procuring, what we're bringing in from overseas, what we're making in Ontario, and what the daily requirements of our hospitals. One by one, every single hospital reports in what their inventory is and what their burn rate is, how much they're going through. And so there's a great centralized process, a centralized warehouse, centralized buying that's in place now to help facilitate this. So it's working tremendously well. But I have to tell you, the parts manufacturers, Magna and Woodbridge, making 1 million masks a week. Linamar, the large auto parts maker, is producing 20 or 30 different components for ventilators. We put an order in for 10,000 ventilators. So we're starting to see of these companies and all of this Ontario Together website really reaching a high level of success. So much so that we've now added $50 million in new money, offering, if you have good ideas that you need some help in seeing them to fruition, we'll look at your plan. And so we're seeing hand sanitizers, wipes, masks, face shields, gowns, all of these things we want to make in Ontario permanently now, and we want to be there to help companies with their ideas.
This is great news, Minister. And it is also showing how the government is also putting our resources of its maximum potential to use in this day of isolation, or when people are away from their regular jobs. You're actually capitalizing on the skills and talents hidden within Ontario. This is just amazing. I was just wondering, how would it be different for the organizations in need to approach the organizations who are providing these supplies directly versus going through the Ontario Together web portal?
Yeah, the organizations that are in need don't need to come to our portal. They have our health ministry that is coordinating the central registry, and so it's each of these facilities are hospitals and the like. They all report in their inventory and their needs, and this is all coordinated through the ministry, and so it's been very, very productive.
Thank you so much for making that clear. And this is such a positive spin in this day and age that we need. Just for the benefit of our viewers, could you tell us about where they can find out more information about the Ontario Together web portal?
Yes, thank you. They can go to ontario.ca/Ontario Together. And it's pretty binary, you get on there and can you make a mask, yes or no? And as you get down to the bottom of it, you can see the information on the Ontario Together Fund. Again, that's a $50 million fund to help you retool or buy new equipment to make personal protective equipment for the people of Ontario, people of Canada, and people that we can export to around the world.
Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade of Ontario, Honorable MPP Victor Fedeli. Great. Congratulations to all of us on this initiative. Now, if I come back to our crisis, what is your prediction for what the economy will look like after the storm passes?
It's going to be a very different economy, of course. We here in Ontario, thankfully, we found all of the efficiencies that helped us get ourselves on a financial path, which allowed us to be able to loosen to assist the businesses. So before the COVID-19 crisis, we had seen the business community create 300,000 jobs in Ontario in the last 18 months. And that's because we did things like cut their WSIB, workplace safety insurance premiums, by 47%. And we had lowered taxes and reduced costs. We cut the costs of doing business in Ontario by over $5 billion each and every year. So that put us on a very good footing, and our economy was roaring. So of all the areas, all of those pieces are still in place. So we have provided this great footing for businesses to recover from. So thankfully, that was all in place and assisting. We saw those 300,000 jobs created in 18 months. There's still going to be huge opportunities for businesses to come to Ontario, locate in Ontario, expand in Ontario, because of all of the changes. We've made Ontario a lower cost jurisdiction now. And so that was very helpful.
That is great. I guess we are all in a pause, and when we come back with a better future.
Yeah, I would think so. The Premier has said very clearly there's a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. We're not ready yet to reopen the economy the way everybody would like. He's very cautious and has done all the right things to this point. And, easing the tap, just easing a little bit in the very, very near future will be good for the economy, and it'll at least show the people that it was very difficult. I mean, he said he had to do the unthinkable a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and virtually shut down our economy. As a lifelong entrepreneur, both he and I are, that just killed us to have to do that. But it was so important to flatten the curve. And we've seen how it has lowered the projections now of those who are getting sick. We know for a fact now that the number's lower, and it saved lives. And I think that's, there's just no price you can pay for that.
Absolutely. We are seeing a bit of the flattening of the curve, and that's just a positive sign. Now, Minister, I must say, we tell everyone to say, stay healthy, stay safe. Yeah. Now, you are having a lot to do in this time of emergency with increased demands. How are you keeping healthy?
Thank you for asking. That's very thoughtful of you. I do get out as soon as I'm done. Now I'm going for my 1 hour walk. I live out in the country. I live in a little town called Corbeil, Ontario. It's up in northern Ontario. It's where the Dion quintuplets were born back in the day. And so I go for a walk and I stay healthy. It's nice to be home. I have home cooking instead of living on my own in Toronto. So I put 5 pounds on since I've been home. So I'm doing something right.
Well, Minister, we thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy to talk to us, enlighten us, and give us the positive news that's happening within this crisis and how we are getting closer to the light, getting us out of this crisis.
We'll get there together, and we want to thank everybody for their patience. And, if you're able to and with your family, hug them and love them. And if you're away from them, love them from afar, but stay safe.
Thank you very much, Minister. Have a great day. We are doing this together.
Thank you.
Thank you to Minister Victor Fedeli for enlightening us about the measures taken by the Government of Ontario during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for watching us. Continue to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and write to us at spotlight@ethnicchannels.com. Until next week, this is Amitha signing off, encouraging you to stay positive.